Hey guys, we're live.
Yep.
Good.
Hello, everyone.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Let's.
Skål.
Cheers, my friend. Skål. How is your time zone math?
Great.
Oh my gosh.
Skål.
Skål, everyone out there. Cheers to you all. This is the final session, the final Q&A with my friend Emil, CEO and co-founder, founder of Neo4j.
And actor.
And fine actor. When you need somebody who's asleep, who do you call?
I think it's always the best at like in situations like this when you have like non-actors try to do try to do like a funny little opening. Yeah.
Now we should die.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be great.
And California, it's like 4 p.m. in California.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
So we're asleep because we're in Sweden. Skål.
Skål.
It is 1 a.m. here. It has been a long, fantastic day. 20 hours, 24 hours of nodes. Fantastic. And so thanks for joining us for the final segment of it, and for the questions that have come in. Do you want another sip of beer before you start answering things?
While I answer.
While you answer things as well, you can cheer each question as it comes through. And this is a nice place to start. Completely in like your wheelhouse of expertise, of course. Throughout the day, we've had product announcements and then deep dives into different new features that are available in the product. Okay, what's your sort of your favorite of all the children? They're all really lovely. What's the best one of the new features that are available?
First of all, I love them all equally.
They're all lovely.
Yes, they are all lovely. So one of the things now with the product portfolio, it used to be back. So ABK here, he didn't really properly introduce himself, but he joined as employee number 10 or something like that in 2010. And so pre 1.0, right? Yeah.
0.92 or something.
0.92. And before that, you were in the Neo4j community.
I was out on that side of the camera,
exactly.
like I was. Yep.
Yeah. And so back in those days, I could so easily keep track of everything. I honestly designed most of the features, right? And the APIs for them and stuff like that.
And you had some code commits.
And I even, before that, coded, did real code, provided actual value. And now, look at the product portfolio today. I mean, we have 250 plus engineers working every day to move the product portfolio forward. It's just so hard to keep track of, just even knowing of all the changes. But having said that, if I were to choose kind of a favorite, was that the question? Like, what's my favorite?
What's the favorite? Yep.
I would say I'm going to have to choose two, actually.
Okay.
One is, finally, I've had this in all the prior, like the two live streams. Alexis, zoom in on this one. This is my Swell bottle, Neo4j branded, and it says parallel runtime. So we just launched the parallel runtime for Cypher. Parallel runtime. And what this one is, this is an amazing piece of engineering. We've worked on this one for over 5 years. It got kicked off in 2017, if you remember, with the EU-funded research project ActiCloud.
Oh, that's right.
Right, a long time ago.
Thank you, Europe.
Yeah, thank you, Europe. Exactly. Is that an Alanis Morissette song? No.
It's
that's another one. And what it does, it's that piece, like in that category of technologies that I love, which is the surface is identical. Like you've typed up your Cypher query, right? Here we are, we plug in the parallel runtime, and for many of your queries, they're just going to run faster. Because it allows you to parallelize your Cypher query. It allows the engine to parallelize your Cypher query without you changing anything. So it can run it on multiple threads across multiple cores.
There's no language construct, there's no operators, no call to a subroutine, it's just...
It's like that beauty of a declarative query language. Like you declare what you want to get, and then it's our job to figure out the best way of doing it. And we just got way better at finding the best way of doing it, right? So that's definitely like a really key, one of my favorite children out of the features. So that's one. I think the other one would be CDC, change data capture. And so change data capture is, and I think for that one, I think very differently. It's like, that to me is an ecosystem play, right? We know that the world is deeply connected. Your data is deeply connected. You're going to have data in many, many different types of database, different types of systems in Neo4j and elsewhere. And we want to make it as easy as possible for you to keep that data in Neo4j in sync with the data elsewhere and vice versa, right? So how do we plug in and become deeply connected to the rest of your architecture and ecosystem? So in the spirit of loving all of them equally, those are the two first among peers.
Nice. Cool. And shout out to the engineering teams behind all that stuff, and also the Apple II team. You know, we love you.
Yes.
Right? We can get all kinds of pop culture references in if we can. Like it's last time through. So school, to the parallel runtime and CDC.
To the parallel runtime.
Cheers.
And CDC.
So this is going to be, that was a bit of a softball question, to be honest. Like, okay, product stuff. Of course you love that stuff. This is a bit more challenging. How do you ensure that Neo4j stays at the forefront of database development? There are so many things happening in the cloud and market research and database research, like, okay, lots of trends everywhere. How do you keep up with the trends? How do you, I guess, ensure that Neo4j stays ahead?
Yeah.
Right?
It's a thank you. That's a great question. So I don't feel like I have like this pitch perfect formula for this all figured out, but a couple of spontaneous thoughts, right? So first one is, we are a technology company. We live and die by the product, right? So that is, and there's so many other important things about the company, but at the end of the day, the product is the heart of all of it, right? So that's the first one. So from that follows investing in the product. I just mentioned we have over 250 engineers, right? I believe it's the biggest dedicated graph team in the world, including at Google, for example, right? On the planet, dedicated to building out graph technology, certainly amongst all the other graph vendors. So that's kind of the first one. I think the second one to me comes down to this, honestly, this event. One of the things that we've always done has had this really deep interplay with our community. And I think the consumer analogy for this is probably closest to the early days of Twitter, where Twitter, they were really good at taking patterns that emerged out of their user base and incorporating that into the product. Right? So the hashtag was actually a friend of mine, Chris Messina, who invented it. He just started using the hashtag. And there's nothing special. They didn't do anything in Twitter, right? But then after a while, they built in support for that. And similarly, out of that early Twitter community, retweets emerged. And that was just people putting RT and then copy-pasting the tweet. And of course, now they built in support for that. We have similar things in Neo4j, where we saw that, hey, there's a lot of people who put kind of properties that they call labels, or they think of as labels onto the nodes, right? It's like some people had like an underscore type thing. This node is a car. Other people called it label. And after a while, we're like, you know what? We should support labels in the property graph model. So we added in that, right? And so that, I guess the businessy term that I would talk to like investors about would be some version of like co-innovation with our community, where it really is it's a lovely kind of give and take there, in an ecosystem where we get great ideas from all the amazing innovators that build technology on top of Neo4j. And after we see enough patterns, we say, you know what? Hey, how about we reinforce support for this in the product? So those would be kind of the top two things that emerge. But it's a great question with no like obvious answer.
there's always a little bit more art involved in it, right? Also, so
100%.
this is your approach to the art. What I like about the second part of this question, or your answer to it, is there's an aspect of listening to your customer, but this is more observing your customer. So listen by just watching, seeing what they're doing, and they're telling you by what they're doing what should happen. Oh, all of our customers are doing this. Okay, we should do that for them, right? Something like that.
100%. And as graph people, we know all about how, out of studying individually isolated components that are connected, emergent behaviors can come
behavior,
out.
Yes.
Right? And that's like one of the approaches we take to innovation.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the answer. Next up, this is a little bit easier than that one. Easier to nail. Well, maybe, I don't know. Back to picking your favorites. What was your favorite Nodes talk so far?
Oh,
of the hundreds of talks over the 20 hours, what was the best one?
Yeah. So,
aside from the Q&A, which...
So obviously anything with you, ABK, is of course a favorite. Drink more beer.
Cool.
Yeah, so sadly I haven't been able to watch all of them. I watched several, many of them. I'm not going to say any of the keynotes. They were obviously great, both Hannah and Sudhir. There was a number of talks related to cancer treatment, which has a special place in my heart. So that was very high on the list. I didn't catch one in its entirety, but parts of several of them. So that's for sure. But if I am forced to choose one, I will have to say it's the talk that Oscar and Harrison did on the Gen AI stack. And so what this is, and maybe some of you were tuned into the previous Q&A, the Fireside chats from this morning or this evening. But there's a lot of talk of Gen AI and how Gen AI and graphs fit together. And I think it's going to be the biggest thing for the graph world over the next many years. Obviously, Gen AI specifically and artificial intelligence in general is affecting all of society and certainly everyone in technology, and certainly if you're in data, right? As we are. And it turns out that LLMs and knowledge graphs is this magical 1 + 1 equals at least 3 match. And you have on one hand this black box of magic that's great at
alien technology,
right? That's great at generative capabilities, great at English. It's probabilistic, it's creative, right? If you match that up with your knowledge, your proprietary enterprise or your personal and data expressed in a knowledge graph, which is facts and determinism, that's a great match. And the Gen AI stack from Docker, what it does is that it has taken a number of best-of-breed components for building LLM-backed applications. So if you're a developer out there and you want to build an application and you want that application to incorporate, the classic example would be like a chat bot, right? But it could be, I'm going to send out an email and I want to generate that email in a personalized fashion. Or it could be any other type of feature, right? Then how do you do that, right? So there's been an architecture pattern emerging over the last 3 to 6 months called RAG, R-A-G, Retrieval Augmented Generation, where you don't have to take the LLM and fine-tune it on your data, which is really hard. It's ultimately a machine learning engineer or machine learning researcher type skill set. But as a developer, you can treat the LLM as just a component, like a black box. You get the data out of your knowledge graph using this RAG pattern. And then you pass it on to the LLM for summarization, for generation. And the Docker Gen AI stack that Harrison and Oscar spoke about earlier today, and it's already out on YouTube, by the way, for those of you who missed it, gives all these components in a pre-integrated, already up and running, configured way with an example application, actually several example application, including a chat bot, like a support portal type chat bot on top of Stack Overflow data, right, which downloads some Stack Overflow data, and then you can kind of chat and get the answer based on the data in the knowledge graph, and it works like that out of the box. So that was probably my favorite talk if you set aside the keynotes.
It was a great talk for many reasons. One of them being they had the slide on the alien technology. Right? Nicely done.
Brilliant idea.
Brings it all together. I'm going to go. I think for the questions that was maybe the last one from the audience. Final thoughts and words to the audience that we have here that stayed with us for as much of this. I don't know if everyone caught all 20 hours as much as as possible. Final thoughts on the day, on the talks, parting, I guess, thoughts for everyone who's out there.
Look, there's nothing replaces face-to-face.
Yeah.
Like face-to-face is the superior way of building relationships between human beings. And here at Neo4j, we, of course, deeply value relationships, right? These are the cups. This is our first core value. And face-to-face is the best way of building that. But man, this community has showed up really well. I've been hanging out in the chat rooms all day, in and out.
Engagement has been fantastic.
Man, like just the questions, the nature of the interactions have just been fantastic to see, and the talks have been exceptionally high quality. I think we're at a really good and healthy point in the graph community right now. And if I look forward over the next 3 to 5 years, especially when we think of completing the shift to the cloud as an industry and this next arc of using graphs together with LLMs and Gen AI, I think we're at a really healthy, vibrant place right now. But over the next 3 to 5 years, things will only get better.
Yeah, fantastic. Great. Emil, always good to spend time with you. Everyone out there, thanks for joining us for this entire 20 hours, as much of it as you've been to, and certainly for this Q&A with Emil. Great to have you. We're going to be doing this again, of course, next year. Go out, do more graph stuff, and try to connect with other people doing graph stuff, right? Go out and connect at the end of the day. Awesome.
Fantastic.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good day.
Good day. Bye-bye.